Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Let me share screen from this one. Let's say you get to a system here. And three. Okay. For example, someone has done, maybe someone picked up any payload. Sorry. That's here. So one of the things is when you go into a system or you exploit and you see that the port is open, the moment the port is open, it indicates that there's a chance that you can penetrate the system. As far as it shows open ports, it shows green, it means that you can penetrate the system. The only thing that determines is if you are using the right exploits, if you are using the right payload. And then even if you have the right payload, you must know how to actually hide the payload. And I think the last time we spoke about some of the application that there is a payload. If you want to put a payload for an Android phone, there is a payload that wants to be for, if you want to use it for iPhone, there are payload for all kinds of things. And those payload is what, now let me even tell you, Hound is created by the Hound we used in tracking. It is done with Metasploit. It was created with Metasploit. So those are part of the things that it can do. But you have to know how to find the right, apart from finding the right payload, you must know how to actually encode the right payload. And some of the ones they put on this Metasploit, it is just simply here for, how do we put it? It is just here for, okay, put it and it might work. Let's call it Windows PowerShell, Windows. Sorry, I'm doing something else. Windows PowerShell. Just to be sure of my IP. And IPA. What's going on? Okay. Now, for example, we are just using any exploit. Since you guys already know these things, I just want to pick up from somewhere. Let me just look at any port that is available. So
We understand this stage now.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. We understand the stage, but
Yes.
we would have to get to a place of use. So let's say we are using use. Let's say search. I'm just trying to see the port that. Let's say search exploit. Let's just pick up from here. Search exploit. I don't know what will be available on my system. Let's say search exploit VSFTP PD. I don't know the version that is available. So search exploits Windows HTTP.
Yes.
All right. I just want to use this as an example. whatever I can find here. And let's say you find anyone here. I'm trying to see anyone that's okay. And then we making use of the use command. And in the use command, we put maybe options. Oh, that means I just selected what is not related. Let me search SMB just to put an arrows for us to test something. Um, we go here. Go here. Okay. Use. All right. Let's say options. Okay, and this one has arrows, but this, oh God, this is the reason why the beginning sometimes always makes sense, because you might not know that is not okay. Let me use search exploits Windows SMB. Okay, use. Let's say options, and is there arrows here? What am I selecting now? Let's say use. Okay, under this, are we still live? Okay, we are.
We are live, sir.
Options. Okay, let's say we say options here. Options. Okay, we have arrows, but this is 445. So let me just set arrows here. Set arrows 192.168.1.176. Okay, this is our target system. And then we use, if we say run, for example, all right, it says exploit running as background job O, completed exploit, but no section was created. That simply means that the payload has not actually gone. And then secondly, 445 is mostly kind of secure. But what we need to do is to now create, what do they call it? To create a payload, because it doesn't have its own payload. Now, this is what they call reverse TCP. Server is running, listening to port 445, blah, blah, blah. All right. So the next thing we need to do is let's check info. Now, in the information we look at, first of all, we see iPass control pipe. This is just like a remote access or whatever. And then it shows Windows 62, 32 and 64. So that means if it's within these two windows, it can actually, maybe it is Windows 10 or Windows 7, it will still work on those systems. Now, the only thing is we need to set up a payload. And to find a payload, if we say show payload, yeah, let's see the payload we have here. All right. So we have a lot of payloads here, which is, you can remember that what I went for was Windows. So let's say we are using TCP reverse. This is OPSEC. To execute, we need something around reverse shell. We can say reverse shell, or let's use Metasploit reverse shell. This is a payload we can actually use because it is Windows.
Hello.
Yeah. So the best thing to do is to say use, and then we put in that payload. But there are instances where we will not be able to get the payload. So now we say options to see the payload. What we need to do is to now set our system, our IP address of our system. Let me check the IP of this particular system. This is the IP 127.
127.0.0.1.
All right. So we say set lhost,
127.
and then yeah, it's there. And now we say we go back to the exploit that we used, so it has been set there. In some cases we might not see the payload. If we don't see the payload, that's when we go to MSF Venom. So let's say use, and then we put in the exploit again. I need to remove that back bracket, and then this time around you can see now that it's saying using exploit configured SMB iPass pipe exec, and say using configured Windows Metasploit reverse TCP.
So there is something you do.
What did I do?
You've already added the payload. You still add the exploit again. Why?
Yes, because the payload that I add, I only add it like use this payload, but I haven't set the exploit. That means I have to go back and set the exploit so that it would, I don't know how I'll give you this example, but let me go back there. All right. First of all, you can see that I exploit the system. This is the
Yes.
exploit, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this is the okay. Before the exploit, I think this is we have exploited it, then we pick a payload. And when we pick the payload, then I change it here and I say use that particular payload because I search for the payload, and this is the payload I use. Now, when I set the payload, you can see that the payload show me reverse TCP, and I say options. The payload only wants me to put my own IP address that is going to be receiving the information. Now, if I decide to change this lhost and I say I want it to be going to another person's system, not to my own system, I can put the person's IP address here.
Yes.
Yeah, just like you are doing job for somebody, you can say, okay,
Yeah.
I want it to start passing back to that person's system, and this is the port it should be going through. So that person, you now put that person's IP address that want to be listening to it, to be seeing what is going on. And then after you execute it, which I put in the port, you now have to use that exploit again.
Okay.
So when you put in that exploit, that's why you can see it here. I say use exploit Windows SMB iPass under pipe.sek. But what I did is this time around, I removed the brackets.
Okay.
Yeah, I only removed the brackets. And then once you hit enter, you see now that it has picked up what it did not show before. It now shows that I have used this exploit. I have used this Windows, and it can work both on Windows 32 and Windows 64. And then it now shows that I'm using this configured payload for this particular exploit. So
Okay.
that means you find your exploit first. After your exploit, then you find your payload. Now,
Okay.
one thing is that at this junction, if you run it, you are supposed to start receiving information from the system. But most
Okay.
systems, even some Windows, no matter how you turn off some of your firewall, some of them, their firewall is still there. It begins to detect all antivirus, or somebody has antivirus on the
Uh-huh.
system. Yeah, so if you click run,
Yes.
most of this particular so exploit failed, unreachable. The reason why the exploit did not go in this place now, as you're seeing it, is because of there is antivirus on the system or firewall.
Okay.
So you can see that it has said everything is correct. It has picked up a system that it wants to listen to, but it is telling us, even with the payload, it is telling us that it cannot go, it's unreachable. Now, sometimes or most times, it can be three reasons: either firewall, antivirus, or the person's network is unreachable at that time. So sometimes it is good before you even execute, you ping the
You pick.
system for the
You
last
pick the
time.
system.
So when you
Okay.
ping it, you say, okay, 192.168.1.176. Once it starts pinging, you cut it off because you don't want the
FP.
person to receive. Yes.
FP.
That to cut it off is Control C. You see that there's network issue here. So the network issue might be from my end. I think I told us this in our last class
Yes.
that sometimes our network in our Metasploit can just decide to change or turn off. Maybe if you are not using it consistently and you just open it. I just need to browse to be sure or to be certain that it's okay. Let's say shodan.io. All right. I think it's so. One thing you need to do is at the end, you just ping the system one more time. Ping 192.168. Okay, it's pinging. All right. So we cut it off. Now that I cut it off, we go back there and then we run it again. Hello, are you there?
Yes, sir. We are here, sir. Go ahead.
We are here, sir. We are
Oh,
following.
okay. So this is actually showing that file available, but it is telling us that the system is still blocking. Now, what is the reason? What can we do from this end? One of the things we can do is now we need to open what we need to write another tag, and this kind of exploit, we can use that same exploit, but we can add encoder to it. The reason is that if the firewall is there or the person is using antivirus, you cannot succeed if the antivirus is detecting your work. But if the antivirus is not that secured, you can enter the system, you can see all the files and all those kind of stuff. So let's say MSF Venom /L. Let's use encoders. Now we have seen these are kind of encoders that we have. I think this is the one that is excellent. We need to now encode that particular payload. So the payload we want to use for that system, we need to encode that payload.
You are
And
copying
then
the
that is where
Shikata.
we need.
You are copying the Shikata encoder. How did you know that this should be the one for it, sir?
Yeah, because it's excellent. It
Does it
shows
show?
excellence under the rank.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay,
And besides, it is rare for you to see a system that it cannot break into.
okay.
That's one thing. Yeah, but now we need to write, take time. And this is where it's become a little bit complex. We would need to find first, we need to find that, what do they call it? We need to find what do we need to find? We need to find the exploit and the payload that we use. And then we would now encode and create a file. In that file, we would now be able to let it pass into the person's system. Sometimes what we need to do in this extent, if you send it through just like this and it's not going, what you need to do is to now create something like a software that the person may click on, that will appear on the person's system. Once they click on it, then the reverse would begin. Due to the fact that this particular Windows is a Windows 10 or 11 system, it is very secured with all kinds of antivirus and firewall. So for you to do this, what you need to do now is I need to close some of these ones that I'm not using. Okay, so we have these two here. So we need to start writing a program, how to write a software or a payload that can bypass antivirus. Now, one of the things we can do is to write MSF Venom. Let me first of all pick the payload I want to use. Okay. I need to start telling you maybe some of how to write these things, because this is where the work really is. When you are trying to penetrate a system, please, do you remember that my IP address 12?
Which of them is it? The 127?
Yes, 127.0.0.
Yes, sir.
Uh, uh, 127.0.0.1. Then we will use that L port. L port equals, I think that port that we used for that payload was 444. And then now we put, yeah, now we encode it. Now we put encoding, and
No.
where am I saying? Encoding,
Okay.
then we push Shikata Ginai. Let me open.
Insurance there. Insurance is ekola ora within the order so kinu kishikere by o abiedu na oku mena ina na laki ku o company like 1 million mara na la family na la e sha channel eh okay this mo se kide zore acha me mama be touch me later hello
Oh, see, that's
okay
um, say 10 dash F. Then we say EXE dash O slash root slash desktop slash Apache dash, we say update dot exe. No copy. Wait, shift V. Let's reduce dot um what do we call it? Hosts. We use the word host. We say .exe. Maybe this one. Let's try. Let's FEXE. Then we use then we say hack. We use this hack.exe. Oh, what's going on? Is it my times that is my problem? What's wrong with this code? Then code it now. Shikata Ginai. No. Shikata Ginai. Do I use it? F exe hack.exe. No, error invalid payload. Where is this error coming from? Okay, let me copy the. Let me copy this one. See, let me delete. Hmm. FEXE. Let's see. Copy. All right.
Man of thought.
Yeah.
The port is it 4x4?
Yeah, I think it's 444.
Yeah, it fall into four places.
Yes.
Okay.
I think
I
I
thought it's
think the
four four
error
five.
is I'm not sure. The error is somewhere close here out of this program
Okay.
because I've created um if it doesn't work now, I'll remove the A. Yeah. Okay. Let's take this off. The one doing all this. Where is this issue now coming from? This issue coming from? Okay.
Hello, man of God.
Yeah.
Yeah, this payload now, is it the same as the one or is another payload that we are using to that we want to encode now?
It's another one we want to encode, and that's why on this one it has E. The
No,
E
I
is for
can
the
hear.
encoding. Yeah, it's for the
Okay, that means
encoding.
if you have to encode, it won't be the payload we already used.
Yes, we can use the same payload that we have used before, but this time we would have to encode it.
Okay, that same payload, that's what we are encoding now.
Yes, 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 yes. So we're encoding it so that it can penetrate the system.
So that it can bypass the firewall, antivirus and all that.
Yes, 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 yes. I think
Okay, but it is the same one that we previously picked that will encode so that everything can go smoothly. Not that we'll pick another payload different from that.
no, 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 no.
All right. Okay.
All right. It has created the payload now. The problem was that I put P which is for payload, and I wrote payload.
Okay, you are not supposed to write payload again.
Yes, the P stands for payload on its own.
Payload.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. It has created the payload. So it's for me, I was supposed to create a folder on the desktop. I really have taken this file to document. Arc.exe. This is not it. Kali. Please just be patient a bit. I just want to get this before we start going into our program or talking about Postgres here. Let me create a folder on the desktop. Folder, let me call it
If you create a folder on the desktop and you are moving it, would it affect the directory, sir?
no, I
Oh,
think that's what I found earlier. It's in no, I can create a folder there and tell and encode it to go towards that folder. So it would
okay.
submit it. Okay,
Okay.
this is it. This is it. So at the end of the day, this is what it becomes.
Because your command also stated it that it should be here.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. So
Okay. So I need to now use an application to be sure that nothing will be able to detect it. Um, so the idea now is to bring the file here to test it. And we need to test it in this particular place to be sure that if any virus will be able to detect it, we want to know.
okay.
some antivirus will be able to detect it. So we still need to encode it. Avast will be at, if the person has Avast, the noise going on. If the person have Avast antivirus, they will mostly detect it. iCloud will be able to detect it. Bitdefender will detect it. These are the ones that may not detect it. That means if the person did not have much antivirus. If this many antivirus can detect it, that means the firewall will detect it. So we have to encode it in a way that no antivirus will be able to detect it. We will have to rewrite the program to make sure no antivirus can detect it, and then before we test it, before we send it to the person's system, because now we are sending it to a Windows system. So communities call secure vendors flag this file as malicious. That means 59% antivirus will detect it. So you can see that the file is meant for Windows. If you can see it here, it's telling you that the file is meant for Windows. It tells you exactly it can be executable on Windows 32, PE, GUI, Microsoft Windows. That is the kind of thing we click. You can enter through their Microsoft Visual C++. It can go to executable generic. So we still need to encode it and make it. It will go into their server, into the server of the system. And these are the details of the system of how you are creating. So on a way, you are just creating a virus that you are setting there. And this particular one, we can create it also for an Android phone and send it to somebody to click and download it. And once they have it in their system, it will enter their system as a file. And with that, you can have everything that is from their phone. But on this one now, we still need to encode it. But I think before we complete everything here, you guys need to have a little bit of understanding on how we get here, so it doesn't look like I'm just doing whatever I like. This detection is too much. Microsoft will detect it. 32 Metasploit will detect it. Antivirus Nano will detect it. Normally, what we are to do the platform was selected, choosing blah blah blah, all found compatible encoders. Okay, so if we put this, let me see if I can create another one here.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So the aim of writing this, is it that once the person is able to communicate with the program, automatically
Yeah.
you now gain access?
Yes, it gives you access. You are going to start seeing everything the person is doing. If you write it in an aspect of an Android or Apple phone, the person, whatever the person is doing through an Apple phone, you'll be able to see. You can turn on their camera. You can do everything you want to do.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are already almost in the final process. 10/f. Venom interpreter, that's 1.66. Category. Is my coder that strong? So replacement error invalid. I still make the same stupid mistake again. So I say -I, then let me put 10. Or let me put, yeah, 10 should be okay. Size is 7,382 bytes. Let me see this other one at the top. Is this not where I created this other one? I need to build a file so I can see it there. Okay, to rewrite it, I should rename it to CV. Let me say should be 20. Payload size 624 bytes. 894. 894 bytes, different from this. Okay, this is it. This is the new one. So we have to test it also again with the antivirus.
There is water in the fridge. The cup and water is in the fridge. So it's not that one.
Okay. Now, the thing you need to also understand is once we get to this level and you write it, it is not only meant for only one person's system anymore. You can send it to any system that is using that same application. It's not just directed to one particular IP address. Confirm upload, yeah.
So anytime you want to run any this thing, you want to run maybe penetrator, you want to penetrate into any system, you can run it.
Yes.
Okay.
In
But
fact,
that will depend on depend on if the person will click it, right?
the network is kind of bad.
I am saying that
But
it will be a dependent of if the person will click